Princess Mononoke is a classic film that's beautiful in its artwork, its storytelling, its themes, and it's something that changed my life because the central takeaway I got was the world is beautiful and complex with people of many different perspectives. While there may be differences in our viewpoints, we can acknowledge and respect those differences, and in doing so, we can further our understanding of each other in the spaces we share and coexist. This is the philosophy that guides my life and drives my creativity. So let's talk about it. Growing up, I was never good at communicating. I used to keep to myself a lot, and I didn't have a lot of friends, or at least in the way that I perceived it, because it was just so difficult for me to reach out to other people and be honest and say, hey, I think you're cool, let's hang out, let's spend some time together and keep in touch. And it's something that bites me in the back, because I never grew up and allowed myself to recognize that there's so much value in listening and understanding and recognizing other people. Whenever I found myself in situations, whether it was something casual like conversation or in a more serious context like arguments or confrontation, I was only concerned with myself in getting the things that I wanted, in feeling like I was seen and heard, and it never occurred to me that there's someone else on the opposite side of this dialogue. There's someone else with their own life experiences, their own circumstances, and all of it is just as valid as mine are. I didn't realize this until much later in my life, at least me as a 24-year-old, but it's interesting to see the growth in my perspective comparing my current self to my middle school, high school, or even my college self to some degree, because we'd all react and respond to situations completely differently than the other person. Especially when I'm thinking about my current self. My current self, I would say, is the most mature version of myself, but even then, that's open to change. I'm going to grow and continue to grow. There are these moments of immaturity that I can remember, and I wish they were things that never happened. I wish I could just go back in time and erase. But I recognize now that it's an important part of the process in allowing our perspectives to grow, in exploring things past our comfort zones, and realizing that there's so much complexity beyond us. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about the plot of Princess Mononoke. So, in the film, the protagonist, Ashitaka, travels west to find the source of this thing that has cursed him. So he travels westward, and eventually he comes across the person that is essentially the reason to the source of his curse. So naturally, he views this person as an enemy. But over time, by just being within the premises of this person, he recognizes that while this person is the enemy, this person is the source of this bad thing that's happened to me, this person is also capable of doing good. And all of this together is just very conflicting. So this is my own interpretation of it, but I think all of this is to really illustrate that things are just way more complex than we might see them to be. I think this is a super common thing that people do. We assume that we know more than we do, but that's the thing. So a lot of our assumptions are based off of preconceived notions, and it's very surface level at most. Everyone is more complex in their labels. Situations can be multifaceted. Not everything is black and white. Two things can be right at the same time. I think taking the time to consider complexities and just trying to understand nuances is something that's worth exploring. All of this isn't to say that once we start recognizing complexity and start to see nuance, that we'll just accept everything that we come across. It's just not the case. We might take the time to listen and understand things past the surface, past our preconceived notions, but we might also find that it's just something we can't agree with or get behind, and that's absolutely okay. I think there's beauty in difference, and it's a part of life, in my opinion. For me, if I didn't adhere to these philosophies, I wouldn't have allowed my perspective to grow, and I think it would just be this whole missed opportunity of not exploring what the world has to offer. Because yes, there's many people with different perspectives, yes, we'll have our agreements and our disagreements, and yeah, there's a lot of things that I have yet to learn and understand. Without all of these things, I would have just kept myself in this bubble without allowing myself to experience the differences that I could find. I think the qualities of listening and understanding to grow our perspective, recognizing complexities, and this acceptance of differences are things that can help us grow to be better people.